We're going to program this part, which has a few things that are not crystal clear, so I'll explain to make it easier for you. This angle here is 5 degrees, and this angle up here is also 5 degrees. The part is centered about this 4.5 inch dimension in the Y. X would be the center of this 2 1/8 inch circle. We're not going to program this circle pocket or the bolt hole. Those are elementary for what we're doing here today. But what we are going to do is machine the outside of this profile using the auto geometry engine and the guess function from Southwestern Industries. So the first thing we'll do is we'll select program, and you can give it a program name if you like, but we're not going to keep this file, so I'll just tell it to go to the beginning. Now we select what it is that we want to do from our menu. We want to cut this as a profile, and the shape of this profile is going to be irregular. My X begin is going to be at minus 0.250. Y begin is going to be down here somewhere off the part. So that's 4.5 inches, that's 2 inches 250. We'll go minus 3.5, just for a little lead in off the part, because there would be material here. Our tool offset is going to be set to the left, number 2. So you enter a 2 here and press your absolute key. We'll take a 10,000ths finish cut. Our roughing RPM is going to be 3,200 RPM. Our finishing RPM is going to be 3,500 RPM. Our roughing feed rate is going to be 10. Our finishing feed rate will be 12, and we'll use tool number 1. You'll notice we're in 2-axis mode. Whether you're in 2-axis or 3-axis mode makes no difference. It's a difference as far as the programming goes. It's done exactly the same, except for the Z depths. So we're down here someplace, actually at minus 250 in X and minus 3.5 in Y. What we need to do is mill straight up to the intersection of this 1.5 inch radius and this line at minus 1/4 inch in Y, or in X, I'm sorry. So let's select mill, and it asks for the X endpoint. I could tell it minus 250, which is the dimension I'm already at, or I can just press the ink set key, telling it not to move in the X, and that's what it's doing. It's just doing a straight line here. The Y intersection point of this vertical line in the 1.5 inch radius, we don't know where that is. When you have, and if we took the arc and this line, they would come together at a point somewhere right here. That means we have an unknown non-tangent endpoint. Rule number 2 of the AGE: when you have an unknown non-tangent endpoint, use the guess feature. So we'll select guess, and I'm going to enter a guess. I'm going to say, well, that's an 1.5 inch radius, so I'm going to enter a guess of Y of minus 1.5. It's going to put me in the ballpark. Then it says, is there a Conrad between that, the line I'm doing, and the next arc? Yes, there is, and that's going to be a 1/4 inch, and it's typical throughout the whole part. So I'll put a 1/4 inch in there. Now, rule number 4 in the AGE is less is more. In other words, when you've entered in all the data you need, move on. Don't try and fill everything in. So let's just hit page forward to move us on. Anything here in red that you see is what the control has calculated on its own, and it's telling us that that's from where we started. That's the 90-degree line, which it is. So now we've got to program this arc, and it's asking here, this tangent here at the top means, is event 3, this arc, tangent to event 2? In other words, is this arc tangent to the mill move we just did? No, it would be the point. The thing to remember here is that it looks tangent because of the Conrad, But the Conrad is not an event, it's part of an event. So remember, when you're looking up here, what tangent means here is this event, the AGE arc, tangent to the AGE mill? The Conrad does not count, it's not to be thought of. It's only this event to that event. In this case, it would be 2. No, it's not. There would be a sharp point there. The direction of the arc, 1 is for clockwise, 2 is for counterclockwise. We can see that this is a clockwise arc. We know the x endpoint of this arc is going to be right about here somewhere in y. The x endpoint is half of that, so it's minus 250. And the y would be unknown. In other words, where the arc and this next line meet would be a point. So again, unknown, non-tangent endpoint, guess. I'm going to guess the radius of 1.5. The center of the arc is going to be right here at x0, y0. The Conrad at the end of this is 1/4 inch, and the radius of the arc is 1.5. Now you can see here it's filled in and said we're okay. We're looking pretty good. The thing I like about Conrad is that we can program to the theoretical intersection point of this arc and this line and just stick a Conrad in there rather than having to program the start, end point, and centers of the arc. Makes it a whole lot easier to calculate one thing than it is to do 3. We've completed all we need, all that we need to put in for this. So again, rule number 4: less is more. As soon as you get what you need, move or put in as much data as required. Move on by hitting the page forward button. Next, we have a mill move. Now, is this mill move tangent to the arc? No, because we programmed to the theoretical intersection point. It cannot be tangent, so we'll select number 2. And the x endpoint is not changing. We're at 1/4 inch in the negative. It's staying at 1/4 inch, so I'll just push the ink set button, go nowhere in x. And the y endpoint is going to be at plus 2.25. And you can see it says OK. And if we look, notice how it's fit the Conrads in here for us. Press your look key again to get back into programming. And again, rule 4, we're done, when less is more, move on, hit page forward. Next, we have a mill move across the top. So it's saying it's event 5, this mill, tangent to event 4, that mill. Well, I'll give you a clue. No 2 mill moves can be tangent. If they were, they would actually be collinear. And this is asking us for tangent. If you look and you'll see that there's sharpness. Anytime there's sharpness, there cannot be tangency. So we'll say number 2, not tangent. The x endpoint will be right here, which is at x of 250. And y is not changing. It's a straight line. So we'll just say ink set. In other words, don't go anywhere. And if you press your look, you'll see we have our nice straight line. We're done with this line, this mill move, so let's press page forward. Now we're going to do this mill move down to this theoretical intersection point. So we'll select mill. Is it tangent? Well, is this event mill 6 mill tangent to event 5 mill? No, it's mill. They can't be tangent. The x endpoint is not changing, so we'll just press ink set. In other words, going from here to here, the x is not changing. The y to the theoretical intersection point is unknown, non-tangent, therefore use guess. I'm going to guess 1.5. All your guess has to be is in the right quadrant. And if I guess y plus 1.5, I am in the right quadrant. At the end, we have a Conrad that's typical of 1/4 inch. And now move on. Now we're going to program this large arc. And it's asking, is the arc tangent to the mill? So where this arc backs up and intersects with the mill would come to a sharp point, therefore it is not tangent. Remember, the Conrad does not count. So number 2, not tangent. The direction of the arc again is clockwise, number one. The X endpoint and the Y endpoint, they're unknown. Where this arc and this 5-degree line meet, where they come together, is unknown, but it will be sharp. The theoretical intersection point will be sharp, therefore it cannot be tangent. Non-tangent, you use guess. So I'm going to guess an X at 1.5, which is the radius of the circle. That's going to put me in the right quadrant. And I'm going to guess, 100 thousandths in Y, which is going to put me up in this quadrant here. And remember, the guesses only have to be in the right quadrant. The X and Y center of this big arc is at X0, Y0. There is a Conrad in here, which is typical of a 1/4 inch. And the radius of this arc is 1.5. We have no more data to enter, so press page forward. Next we have this mill move. And it's asking here, is event 8 the mill tangent to the arc? Well, no, we're programming to the theoretical intersection point, which is a sharpness. So no, it's not tangent, number 2. The X and Y endpoint are unknown, but the endpoint of this line is tangent to the next arc. So when we have unknown tangent endpoints, we can simply skip by them. The only other thing we have to tell us is what angle this line is at. So from this point, we have a 5-degree angle. So that would be 0 or 360 less 5 degrees would be 355. So just hit your data bottom key and type in 355. By leaving those endpoints open, we're telling the control that it's going to be tangent to this next arc. So we'll select arc, and now it's saying, is this arc tangent to the previous mill? In other words, is this arc tangent to that mill? Well, yes it is, so 1 is yes. The direction of the arc, again, this arc is a clockwise arc, number 1. At the end of the arc, we do not know where the arc comes into this next mill move. It's unknown, but it's tangent. It's going to be somewhere around here. But when you have unknown tangent endpoints, rule number 1, data forward past those endpoints and leaving them blank. Do not press abset or inkset. Use data forward, leave them blank. The center in X is at 2 inches 625, and the center in Y is at minus 3/8. At the end of this arc, there is no Conrad. So you can just push your abset button, pop a 0 in there. And the radius of the arc is 1/2 inch. Next we'll do this 5-degree mill move. You notice it says not okay. Don't worry about that. It just doesn't have enough information yet to calculate the all of the geometry. So move on, keep programming. We have a mill move next, and it's asking here at the top, this tangent, is this mill move number 10 tangent to the previous arc? In other words, is this mill move tangent to that arc? Number 1, yes it is. The X and Y endpoints, we don't know where this 5-degree line and this 1.5 inch radius meet, but they'd come to a point. So when you have unknown non-tangent endpoints, just guess. The X might be 1.5, and the Y, I'm going to guess, is minus 700. So from this point, that'd be something greater than the radius, so I just guessed at 700. It's going to stick me in the right quadrant. And at the end of this mill move, we have the 1/4 inch radius. The only other thing we have to tell it, hit data bottom, is the line angle. And that's going to be 180 plus 5, 185 degrees. Now we have this section of arc. And is that arc tangent to the mill? Is this arc tangent to that mill where they meet at the theoretical intersection point? No, there's sharpness. Can't be sharp. There cannot be tangency when there's sharpness. The direction of the arc is number 1, clockwise. The end point of this arc we know is at 1/4 inch. So we'll put it in. The Y end point we don't know. This arc and this line are going to intersect somewhere here. So we're going to guess, and I'm going to guess that's at -1.5. I'm just using the radius to make things easy. The center of that arc is X and Y 0. There is a 1/4 inch Conrad at the end of the arc, and the radius of the arc is 1.5. Now you notice now, if you press your look key, you can see that up here that everything's okay. It's got it all back figured and plugged in. All of this geometry here in red is what the AGE system has trigged out. And if you want to trig it out yourself and compare the numbers, you'll find this thing is it's unbeatable. Anyhow, we're done with this event, number 11, so let's just hit page forward. Now we're going to do this little mill move and then one more mill move, so I'll just go ahead and do them and not talk a whole lot. It's not tangent to the previous. X is not changing. The Y ends at -2.25. And if we look, we can see we got that. And then we hit the page forward, and we have a mill move, not tangent. In other words, mill, mill. 2 mill moves can't be tangent. The X endpoint, minus say 350. I'm just coming off the part a little bit. And the Y endpoint's not changing. And if you press your look, you'll see it's fine. We do have a pretty long lead in here, but we can change that. Hit page forward. Remember rule 4, less is more. As soon as you have what you need, hit page forward. And now we're all done with the profile, so we tell it to end the AGE. And that's it.